भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1, Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. Text number 29 onwards. Maitre vacha iti tasya vachah shrutva triyaste vibuddharshava pratyahu shlakshanaya vacha prahasya tam rishim prabhu. The great sage Maitreya continued, upon hearing Atri Muni speak in that way, the three great deities smiled and they replied in the following sweet words. Deva uchu yatha kritaste sankalpo bhavyam tena nanyatha sat sankalpasya te brahman yadvedhyayati te vayam. The three deities told Atri Muni, Dear Brahman, you are perfect in your determination, and therefore, as you have decided, so it will happen. It will not happen otherwise. We are all the same person upon whom you were meditating, and therefore we have all come to you. So we all are the same person. Doesn't mean that three of them are one. It means three of them are Jagatishwaras in different respects, different aspects. Atri Muni unspecifically thought of the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, although he had no clear idea of the Lord of the universe, nor of his specific form. Mahavishnu, from whose breathing millions of universes emanate and into whom they are again withdrawn, may be accepted as the Lord of the universe. Garbhodaksha Vishnu, from whose abdomen sprouted the lotus flower, which is the birthplace of Brahma, may also be considered the Lord of the universe. Similarly, Kshirodaksha Vishnu, who is the supersoul of all living entities, may also be considered the Lord of the universe. Because Kshirodaksha Vishnu is the maintainer of the universe. Then, under the order of Kshirodaksha Vishnu, the Vishnu form within this universe, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva may also be accepted as the lords of the universe. Vishnu is the Lord of the universe because he is its maintainer. Similarly, Brahma creates the different planetary systems and the population, so he also may be considered the Lord of the universe. Or Lord Shiva, who is ultimately the destroyer of the universe, also may be considered its Lord. Therefore, since Atri Muni did not specifically mention whom he wanted, all three, Brahma, Vishnu and Lord Shiva, came before him. They said, since you were thinking of having a son exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, your determination will be fulfilled. In other words, one's determination is fulfilled according to the strength of one's devotion. Oh, I think we covered this one yesterday. Sorry.
Yes, Prabhuji, will have to do from 34 onwards.
34 onwards?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, okay. Okay, text 34. Sorry about that. Shraddha tva angirasah patni chatasro asuta kanyakaha snivani kuhuraka chaturthya anumatistatha. Angira's wife Shraddha gave birth to 4 daughters, namely Sinivali, Kuhu, Raka and Anumati. Tatputra paravastam khayato sarocishayantare utayo utathyo bhagwan sakshat brahmishthascha brihaspatihi. Besides these 4 daughters, she also had another 2 sons. One of them was known as Utathya and the other was the learned scholar Brihaspati. So Brihaspati is the son of Angira and Shraddha. Pulastyo ajnaya patnyam agastyam cha havir bhuvi so anya janmani dhamma tapaha. So anya janmani dharagnir vishravascha mahatapaha. Pulastya begot in his wife Havirbhu one son of the name Agastya, who in his next birth became Daharagini. Besides him, Pulastya begot another very great and saintly son, whose name was Vishrava. तस्य यक्षपतिर्देव कुबेरस्त्विद् विदासुतः रावणः कुम्भकर्णश्च तथान्यस्यां विभीषणः. Vishrava had two wives. So Vishrava was the son of Pulastya and his wife Avirgu. And Vishrava had two wives. The first wife was Idavida, from whom Kuvera, the master of all yakshas, was born. And the next wife was named Keshini, from whom three sons were born, Ravan, Kumbhakaran, and Vibhishan. So it's all part of the same family. So just see, Kashyap Muni and Diti begot Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and now Vishrava and Keshini had three sons, Ravan, Kumbhakaran, and Vibhishan. Pulahasya gatirabharya trina sutta sati sutan karma shreshtam variyansam sahishnum cha mahamate. Gati, the wife of the sage Pulaha, gave birth to three sons named Karma Shrestha, Variyan, and Sahishnu, and all of them were great sages. Gati, the wife of Pulaha, was the fifth daughter of Kardamuni. She was very faithful to her husband, and her sons were as good as he. Kratorapi kriyabharya valkhelya nasuyata rishi nashashti sahasrani jvalato brahmatejasa. Kratu's wife Kriya gave birth to 60,000 great sages named the Valkhilyas. All these sages were greatly advanced in spiritual knowledge, and their bodies were illuminated by such knowledge. Kriya was the sixth daughter of Kardamuni, and she produced 60,000 sages who were known as the Valkhilyas because they all retired from family life as Vanaprasthas. So all these 60 sages, Valkhilyas, we have to remember that because they come somewhere. I'm forgetting in which story in Bhagavatam they'll come. All 60,000 sages will come somewhere. Urjayam Yagire Putra Vasishthasya Parantapa Chitraketu Pradhanaste Sapta Brahma Shayo Amalaha. The great sage Vasishtha begot in his wife Urja, sometimes called Arundhati, 7 spotlessly great sages headed by the sage named Chitraketu. So Vasishtha's wife is Urja, or sometimes called Arundhati. So he begot 7 great sages. Chitraketu Surochishcha Virja Mitra Evacha Ulbano Vasu Vridyanu Dyuman Shaktayadayo Apare. The names of the 7 great sages are as follows: Chitraketu, Surochi, Virja, Mitra, Ulban, Vasu, Bhridyan, and Dyuman. Some of the very competent sons were born from Vashish's other wife. Urja, who is sometimes known as Arundhati, was the wife of Vasishtha, was the 9th daughter of Kardam Muni. Chittistvathar Varna Patni Lebhe Putram Dhrit Vritam Dadhyan Chamashva Shirasam Vrigor Vansham Nivodame. Chitti, wife of great sage Atharva, gave birth to a son named Ashwashira by accepting a great vow called Dadhyancha. Now you may hear from me about the descendants of the sage Bhrigu. The wife of Atharva, known as Chitti, is also known as Shanti. She was the 8th daughter of Kardam Muni. Bhrigu Khyātyam Mahabhaga Patanyam Putra Najijanat Dhataram cha Vidhataram Shriyam cha Bhagvat Param. The sage Bhrigu was highly fortunate. In his wife, known as Khyati, he begot 2 sons named Dhata and Vidhata, and 1 daughter named Shri, who was very much devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ayatim Niyatim Cheva Sute Merus Tayoradat Tabhyam Tayora Bhavatam Mrikandha Prana Evacha. The sage Meru had two daughters named Ayati and Niyati, whom he gave in charity to Dhata and Vidhata. Ayati and Niyati gave birth to two sons, Mrikanda and Prana. Markandeyo Mrikandasya Pranadvedshira Muni Kavishcha Bhargavo Yasya Bhagwanushanastaha. From Mrikanda, Markandeya Muni was born, and from Prana, the sage Vedashira, whose son was Ushna Shukracharya, also known as Kavi. Thus, Kavi also belonged to the descendants of the Bhrigu dynasty. So, Kavi or Shukracharya, he also came from Bhrigu dynasty. Text 46-47. Tayete munyakshattar lokan sargara bhavyan esha kartam dohitra santana kathitastava shanvatah shadadhanasya sadyah pathara para Prasuti Manavim Daksha Opyeme Hiya Jatmaja. My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Prasuti, married the son of Brahma named Daksha. So see, these all are Prajapatis, and so powerful sages are born in these families. So basically, what I'm trying to get to is, being a Grahastha is not an impediment in making progress in the spiritual path. It's not like only brahmacharis or sannyasis can make progress. All these great sages are married. They are Grahasthas, and they had wives, they have children. And they're performing their spiritual duties perfectly. So everything is possible if we follow the scriptures. Tasyam sasarja duhitrihe shodasham shamalalochanaha triyodashadad dharmaya tatha kamagne vibhu. Daksha begot 16 very beautiful daughters with lotus-like eyes and his wife Prasuti. Of these 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Dharma, and one daughter was given to Agni. Wow. So different names of Daksha's daughters are given here. Text 49-52. Pitribhya ekam yuktebhyo bhavayekam bhavachide shraddha maitri daya shantis tushti pushti kriyonnati buddhirmeda titikshaha patneya Shraddhasu Shubham Maitri Prasadam Abhayam Daya Shanti Sukham Mudam Tushti Smayam Pushti Rasuyata Yogam Kriyonatir Darpam Artham Buddhi Rasuyata Medha Smritim Titiksha Tu Kshemam Hapakshayam Sutam Murti Sarva Gunot Pattir Nar Narayana Rishi. One of the remaining two daughters was given in charity to Pitriloka. So 13 to Dharma and 1 to Agni. So two daughters were remaining. So one of the remaining two daughters was given in charity to Pitriloka, where she resides very amicably, and the other was given to Lord Shiva, who was a deliverer of sinful persons from material entanglement. So that daughter was Sati. The names of 13 daughters of Daksha who were given to Dharma are Shraddha, Maitri, Daya, Shanti, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya, Unnati, Buddhi, Medha, Titiksha, Hri, and Murti. These 13 daughters produced the following sons. Shraddha gave son to Shubha, Maitri produced Prasad, Daya gave birth to Abhay, Shanti gave birth to Sukha, Tushti gave birth to Muda, Pushti gave birth to Smaya, Kriya gave birth to Yoga, Unnati gave birth to Darpa, Buddhi gave birth to Artha, Medha gave birth to Smriti, Titiksha gave birth to Kshema, and Hri gave birth to Prashraya. Murti, a reservoir of all respectable qualities, gave birth to Sri Nar Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when it says they were given to Dharma, so Dharma means Dharmaraj. It's also the name of Yamaraj. Yayorjanmanyaddo vishvam abhyananda nandyat sunirvritam manansi kakubho vata prasedo sarituvadraya. On the occasion of the appearance of Narayan, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus in all directions the air, the rivers, and the mountains became pleasant. Divyavadyanta turyani petu kusum vrishtaya munyastushtu vustushta jagur gandhar vakinnaraha nrityanti sma striyo devya asit paramangalam deva brahmadaya sarve upatasthur abhishtava. In the heavenly planets, bands began to play and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as Gandharvas and Kinnars, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced, and in this way, at the time of the appearance of Narayan, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. Deva uchu yo mayaya virichitam nijyatmanidam khe rupa bhedam iva tat prati chakshanaya etena dharma sadane rishi murti nadya pradushchakara parushaya namaha parasmi. The demigod said, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation, which is situated in him as the air and clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Narayan Rishi in the house of Dharma. The universal form of the Lord is a cosmic manifestation, which is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In space, there are innumerable varieties of planets and also the air, and in the air, there are variously colored clouds. And sometimes we see airplanes running from one place to another. Thus, the entire cosmic manifestation is full of variety. But actually, that variety is a manifestation of the external energy of the Supreme Lord. And that energy is situated in him. Now the Lord himself, after manifesting his energy, appeared within the creation of his energy, which is simultaneously one with and different from himself. And therefore, the demigods offered their respects to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who manifests himself in such varieties. There are some philosophers called non-dualists. So non-dualist means Advaita, who because of their impersonal conception think that varieties are false. In this verse, it is specifically stated, Yo Mayaya Virachitam. This indicates that the varieties are a manifestation of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, because the energy is non-different from the Godhead, the varieties are also factual. The material varieties may be temporary, but they are not false. They are a reflection of the spiritual varieties. Here the word Prati Chakshanaya, there are varieties, announces the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared as Narayan Rishi and who is the origin of all varieties of material nature. So Narayan Rishi, they appeared in the whole cosmic manifestation, although the cosmic manifestation comes from the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord himself enters that cosmic manifestation and appears as Narayan Rishi. So, so the external energy or Maya, as Prabhupada says, all these varieties, even in the material world, and we see so much of variety, so many animals, plants, birds, fishes, human beings, and in the creation you see on the sky, you see so many colors, and So many flowers of different colors, so many vegetables, or so many fruits of different colors, different shape, different aroma, different size. So there's so much of variety, and but it's not, and it's not Maya. It's not illusion. It's temporary, but it's not illusion. It is real. And this is only a perverted reflection of the spiritual varieties. So in the spiritual world, which we have studied earlier, Tripad Vibhuti means it's 3/4 of the whole creation is spiritual and 1/4 is only material. So we can't even imagine how much variety is there in the spiritual world. If this is in 1/4 of the creation, we see so much of variety. Swayam sthiti vyati karopashamaya srishtan sattvinna sargananam meyat tattvaha drishyadadabhra karunena vilokanena yachri niketam amalam kshipataravindam. Let that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is understood by truly authorized Vedic literature, and who has created peace and prosperity to destroy all calamities of the created world, be kind enough to bestow his glance upon the demigods. His merciful glance can supersede the beauty of the spotless lotus flower, which is the home of the goddess of fortune. So devatas are praying to the Supreme Lord, to Narayan Rishi actually, that they be kind enough to bestow their glance. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose origin of the cosmic manifestation is covered by the wonderful activities of material nature, just as outer space of the illumination of the sun and moon is sometimes covered by clouds or dust. It is very difficult to find the origin of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, material scientists conclude that nature is the ultimate cause of all manifestations. But from Shastra or authentic literature like Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scriptures, we understand that behind this wonderful cosmic manifestation is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in order to maintain the regular procedures of the cosmic manifestation and to be visible to the eyes of persons who are in the mode of goodness, the Lord appears. He is the cause of the creation and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. The demigods therefore prayed for his merciful glance upon them in order to be blessed. So Prabhupada says in this material nature, a wonderful activities, so many are going on. So scientists sometimes get bewildered. Who is the cause? Because the cause is not seen, it's not visible to everybody. Obviously, you have to have pure eyes to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, but for us, we can understand by hearing from the right sources. That way we can understand. So Nar Narayan Rishi, they are the cause of the wonderful cosmic manifestation. They maintain it and then they destroy it. The cause of the dissolution also. Means Nar Narayan Rishi, or because they are basically expansions of Lord Vishnu. So Prabhupada said he is the cause. Evam surganestata bhagvanta bhishtuto labdhavalokayar yayitur archito gandhamadanam. Maitreya said, O Vidura, thus the demigods worship with prayer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing as a sage, Narayan. The Lord glanced upon them with mercy and then departed for Gandhamadan hill. Tavimo ve bhagavato harer ansha vihagato bharavyayaya cha bhava Krishno yadu kurudvaho. That Narayan Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna respectively, to mitigate the burden of the world. Actually, it should be the other way. Okay, in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru, so Krishna in Yadu and Arjuna in the Kuru. So Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Nar is a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Thus the energy and the energetic together are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maitreya informed Vidura that Nara, the portion of Narayan, had appeared in the family of Kurus as Arjun, and that Narayan, the plenary expansion of Krishna, had come as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with the purpose of delivering suffering humanity from the pangs of material burdens. In other words, Narayan Rishi was now present in the world in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna. So, those of us who went to Badrinath, so we took darshan of Narayan Rishi there. But although in all these trips to Vrindavan, somehow it never happened that we went. There is a Badrinath, Kedarnath, Haridwar, Har Ki Pauri. They all are present in Braj as well. Because when Krishna was in Braj or in Vrindavan, he called all the tirthas to come over there. Mansi Ganga, Gangaji came as Mansi Ganga, Yamuna was always there anyway. So there is a beautiful place as Badrinath in Braj. It's not far from Govardhan. There's a road from Govardhan, the village of Govardhan. That road goes towards Badrinath. And nearby is Haridwar, Har Ki Pauri and Kedarnath also. So in that place, Badrinath, in Braj, there are many temples are there in one complex. And in that temple, there are beautiful deities of Narayan as well. So I hope Ashok Prabhu is making a note of another trip that we have to take. Text 60. Swaha abhimaninascha chagne ratma janstri naji janaka pavakam pavamanam cha shutim cha hutubhojanam. The predominating deity of the fire begot in his wife Swaha 3 children named Pavak, Pavaman and Shuchi, who exist by eating the oblations offered to the fire of sacrifice. After describing the descendants of the 13 wives of Dharma, who were all daughters of Daksha, Maitreya now describes the 14th daughter of Daksha, Swaha, and her 3 sons. Oblations offered in the sacrificial fire are meant for the demigods, and on behalf of demigods, the 3 sons of Agni and Swaha, namely Pavak, Pavaman, and Shuchi, accept the oblations. So that is when Hiranyakashipu stopped and Kansa also stopped the yagyas. Basically, their idea was if the yagya goes on, then the demigods become very powerful. So they stopped the yagyas, and because they stopped the yagyas, the demigods at that time, they became very weak because this is how they eat. They get their share. Tebhyo agneha sambhavan chatvarinch panchacha ta evakon panchashat sakam pitri pitamahe. From those 3 sons, another 45 descendants were generated who were also fire gods. The total number of fire gods is therefore 49, including the fathers and the grandfather. So 45 descendants and 3 sons and the grandfather. The grandfather is Agni and the sons are Pavak, Pavaman and Shuchi. Counting these 4 plus 45 grandsons, they are altogether 49 different fire gods. There's 49 different fire gods. We never even heard of that. So different kind of fires, I guess. Vetanike karmani yannam bhir brahmavadipi agneya ishtayo yagye nirupya ante agneyastute. These 45 fire gods are the beneficiaries of the oblations offered in Vedic sacrificial fire by impersonalist Brahmins. Impersonalists who perform Vedic fruitive sacrifices are attracted to the various fire gods and offer oblations in their name. The 49 fire gods are described herewith. Agnishvata Barhishada Somya Pitar Ajyapaha Sagnyo Anagnayestesham Patni Dakshayani Swatha. The Agnishvatas, the Barhishats, and the Somyas and the Ajipas are the Pitas. They are either Sagnika or Niragnika. The wife of all these Pitas is Swadha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. Tebhyo dadhar kanye dve vayuna dharinim Swadha ubhete brahma vadinyo gyan vigyan parage. Sudha, who was offered to the Pitas, begot two daughters named Vayuna and Dharini, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge. Bhavasya patni tu sati bhavam devam anubrita atmana sadrisham putram na lebe gunashilata. The 16th daughter, whose name was Sati, was a wife of Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in the service of her husband. Pitarya prati rupe swe bhavaya agse rusha aprode vatma manatmanam ajahad yoga samyata. The reason is that Sati's father Daksha used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of yogic mystic power. So we'll read this later on in this canto only, what happened. Lord Shiva, being the head of all mystic yogis, never even constructed a home for his residence. So that is the beauty of Lord Shiva. Sati was the daughter of a great king Daksha, and because his youngest daughter Sati selected as her husband Lord Shiva, King Daksha was not very much satisfied with her. Therefore, whenever she met her father, she unnecessarily criticized her husband, although Lord Shiva was faultless. Because of this, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up the body given by her father Daksha, and therefore she could not produce a child. So the whole story starts from the next chapter, Daksha curses Shiva. So we'll go through the details how Daksha was so envious of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's position is even higher than Brahmaji, and he's although he is in charge of mode of ignorance, but he himself doesn't get angry very soon because he's a pure devotee. And this, he is in charge of mode of ignorance as a service to Krishna, because or Vishnu. It's only his service. He's just and he's just engaged in. And see, here it is said, he never even constructed a home for his residence. So not Sati, but Parvati, later on, who became his wife. So Parvati is expansion of Durga Ji. And Durga Ji, she's the superintendent of the whole material world. She is the personification of Maya. So people worship her, Durga Ji, for all the material benedictions. But they worship Lord Shiva for all the material benedictions. But Lord Shiva himself doesn't make a home for himself. Him and his wife, they just live under a banyan tree. Or sometimes in cremation grounds. That's renunciation and detachment of Lord Shiva. But those who say they are devotees of Lord Shiva, they don't understand the mood of Lord Shiva. And they just ask for material benediction, just like yesterday we were discussing that oh, Krishna takes away everything, so that's why we should worship Lord Shiva to get some material benefits. But Lord Shiva's mood is what we have to understand and worship him that way. That will please him more. He himself is so renounced. He doesn't even cover his body properly. He just wears some mrig chal or the skin of a tiger. And he covers his whole body with the ashes. And he wears this mundamal. He wears the mala of skulls. Of course, those skulls are the skulls of the great devotees. And he's having these snakes around him. The snakes are expansions of Lord Sankarshan. But he's always ready to do service, and for himself, he doesn't even have residence. So when that mood is adopted by his followers, then they can understand who Lord Shiva is. Then Lord Shiva will be pleased with them also. And then Lord Shiva can take them to his abode, Kailash, the real Kailash outside the material world. So, not understanding Lord Shiva's mood when we worship him for just some material benedictions, he gives because he's Ashutosh, he gets pleased very soon. Just do some tapasya and he gets pleased. What some tapasya? Just put some bale pata, 3 bale pata upside down on Shivalinga and he is pleased with that. He said, this is good enough tapasya they have done. But the benedictions, material benedictions that we get by pleasing Lord Shiva are not the real benedictions that we should be looking for. Because these material benedictions will only prolong our stay in the material world. And stay in the material world means we have to go through all sorts of problems. Adidaiva, Adibhautika, Adhyatmik klesha, Janma Mrityu, Jara Vyadhi. They're all part of living in the material world. So one has to get the real benediction from Lord Shiva, which is bhakti of Krishna. And he can award that. He's a pure devotee. He can award that. But we have to approach him in that mood. Then he can definitely give. So, but anyway, so we'll stop here and tomorrow we'll start the next chapter and see anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, in the recently concluded Ramayana serial that we saw on DD, we saw Lord Rama meeting the Trimuni and Surya Mata. So are these the same rishis and characters that we have read just now in Bhagavad Gita?
Somehow can't hear you properly. You have to speak up.
Prabhuji, recently in the Ramayana serial that concluded in DD, we saw Lord Rama met Atri Muni and Surya Mata and few of these rishis that we just now read in Bhagavatam. So are they the same rishis?
Yes. Yeah, same, because of course they are there from the Swayambhuva Manu, but we have to see when this Ram Leela happened. Was it in Swayambhuva Manu's time or the current is the Vivasvat Manu? So that part I don't know which one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And probably this 60,000 children that they begot, in fact, they have long life. Probably they have lakhs of years as lifetime. Otherwise, 60,000 to calculate करना ही मुश्किल हो जाता है. In fact, having 60,000 children, how to feed them and all this stuff, how to kind of bring them up in a way that they become saints and sages.
So it was the time of Swambhuva Manu. So in the beginning, so it is Satyuga. So it is possible.
And brought up everybody so nicely, they became sages. आजकल तो एक child को brought up करना मुश्किल हो जाता है.
Well, Kali Yuga is a special yuga.
And how they must be feeding probably everybody. The sadhu, they would be kind of doing tapasya and all. And despite that, God was managing everything.
Well, Krishna makes arrangements for everybody. Don't worry.
Yes. But nice eye-opening probably. In fact, fourth canto starting itself is so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mata.
Prabhuji, yesterday I started making the web chart of whose son, daughter and all. So I was thinking, ये बहुत बड़ा है. And I left it in between. I said, बहुत time लग रहा है इसमें. So today it's again, added on. So I'm just thinking, कितना it's going to be a long list.
Or 60,000 sages also.
I know. Now I'm thinking I just started a wrong thing to, calculate and all that, कि कहाँ से कौन क्या बना. I said I'll just, keep it in my this thing. भागवत में ही paper बना के रख देती हूँ, so really it will be easy to know कौन किसका है. It's going to take long, I think.
और ये तो सिर्फ एक फैमिली है स्वयंभुवा मनु की. Then there are other families also.
I should stop it, I think. Just read it like this only.
नहीं माता जी, please do it and share with us. something लगाएंगे इसको घर में chart.
I thought of
मैंने भी
it.
चालू किया था, but I dropped off the idea.
I just thought of it. I shall make it and I'll just, I'll post it. But now I'm thinking this is going on. The long list.
And see, slowly, all these families, then Surya and Som, because the Kshatriyas come from these two, either Sun dynasty or Moon dynasty. And then they go on further. So Sun dynasty, then it comes to Lord Ram, and then further down. And Moon dynasty comes to Krishna. Krishna appears in Moon dynasty. Okay. And then he goes down further. So all these details are given in Bhagavatam, but it's crazy. It's not easy to understand.
So like the wrong note I started.
Please make it so that at least you can share with us.
It's not easy now. I'm thinking of it.
I think one of the previous class में आपने बताया भी था शायद that this gotra that we call out during any puja is linked to one of these rishis. ऐसे कुछ आपने शायद बताया था. Can't remember.
I don't remember.
That the gotras that we call out is basically name of the rishis.
Oh, the seven or nine gotras, something like that. But those 7 rishis are different. Sapta Rishi. Those are different. So it's very, very complicated, actually.
One thing told them to complete at that point in time when everybody was so devoted and kind of they had this mood of worship. Still, they were impersonalists as well at that point in time. Can you come with a complicated?
Yeah.
Is it because
this is the time of Swambhuva Manu, and there are 14 Manus in a day of Brahma. And this is just one Swambhuva Manu in one day of Brahma. Just imagine, because now last Manu, and when he leaves, and then the dissolution takes place because it's Brahmaji's night. So the living entities who are there with whatever consciousness, then when they take birth in the next morning of Brahmaji, through Swambhuva Manu, so whoever gets to be the sage and impulsively sage or whatever, so that consciousness is carried forward. It's very, very complicated. It's not that easy.
Yes, Prabhuji. मेरे को realize हो गया.
And it's funny that Darwin says, "Oh, we came from the single cell organism. It evolved, and we came from monkeys. The human being came." Doesn't make sense at all. Chalo, I guess we can stop here. And thanks to everybody for their participation in the Japa Marathon, especially Radha Prabhu. And now he's giving the awards and the names and titles. I don't know how much time he's spending in all this. It's wonderful service he's doing. So he definitely deserves that Srila Prabhupada award.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Radha Prabhu ki jai.
I don't know how's he even coming up with all these titles and names. I have no idea. But doing a wonderful job. Thank you, Prabhuji. So you all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu ki jai.